Hey, hey everyone. All right, stop calling nurses heroes, right? Can you hear it? It's insulting and gross, and we got to quit. We got to stop. But I have an alternative. Actually, I have two alternatives to replace calling nurses heroes. So, happy Nurses Week 2020 in a pandemic. This is nutty. But hi, Mandy Irby, the birth nurse, and I am the founder of this group and also the Birth Nurse Online and also the Birth Nurse Academy, where you might have taken a course or you might be a student. If so, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here in this group. And I am also a labor and delivery nurse and a childbirth educator, a nurse educator, and a mother of two. And I believe our bodies are powerful. And with the right support, we are unstoppable. I believe that about nurses and about parents and parents to be. So let me know where you're watching and if you've ever called a nurse a hero. I know it happens all the time. And even in the new publication that came out from American Nurses Association, they call nurses heroes, but it's gross. So this is how I want to celebrate Nurses Week. And I wrote a post for Motherboard Birth. I'm one of the directors of education there. And I wrote their post yesterday for Nurses Week because actually one of the teammates was like, hey, I want to talk about nurses are heroes and give your nurse a hug and like celebrate nurses. And I was like, don't call nurses heroes. And it was this whole rant about this, what I want to share with you and how I feel about it because it's gross. And she was like, oh my God, I had no idea. So I'm sharing it now. I'm going to share it again. I'm going to keep talking about it because there are not a lot of people talking about it, but also I don't have any risk to talk about it. So I want to hear your nurse stories. So before I get into it, before you have to go, before someone has to use the potty, you know what I mean? I want to hear your nurse stories and you won't get in trouble. We can do it anonymously. We can do it by video. We can do it by chatting. We can do it by blog post and just writing it out. I just want to hear it. If you want to comment, comment. If you want to message me, message me. I want to hear your story and I want to share it with the world because people don't know people don't know this is happening. People don't know about nurses and how they're being treated, especially right now in COVID. I think it's highlighting how nurses are treated and it is not helpful for people to call them heroes. Nurses do not do what we do to get hero status. They don't save lives. They don't go into work when they're missing bedtimes for their children. They don't wake up before the sun most of the year to clean up puke and poo for a free coffee in May or a donut. And that's not to say Duncan is doing a bad job. Like, I love you, Duncan. You know that. But that's not why nurses are doing really hard shit right now, whether they're in the hospital or not. But I just speak hospital because that's what I did. I was in the hospital. Nurses are everywhere, but they deal with really hard stuff. And it's not for Nurses Day and it's not to be called a hero. They're badasses. They walk through the most vulnerable situations with people. They just do hella tough work in the most vulnerable, sacred, messy corners of the world and our communities. It's not to be called heroes. They're not martyrs at all. I don't think nurses are martyrs. I never went into nursing because I wanted to be a martyr. No, I wanted to feed my family. I wanted to pay off student loans. I wanted to do science next to humans. I wanted to see birth and death with people. I wanted to experience that with them and help them through it in a positive, memorable, important way, not to go home sick or to wear masks every day. I'll get into that. But I think instead of being martyrs, instead of being heroes, so if you just joined up, I'm talking about please stop calling nurses heroes. And I want to hear what you think. I want to hear, like, does this ring true for you? Does this offend you? Does this irritate you, sadden you? I want to hear about it because I know there's going to be feels. I have huge feels when people say, oh my gosh, you're such a hero. Or I see signs on the road that are like nurses are heroes, which is just gross. It's gross because nurses are not martyrs. They do not go to work to only serve others and not themselves or their families. And when pitted as a hero, they're quieted, because then how can a hero complain about their work situation? How could a hero complain about their long shifts? Long shifts suck. Yeah, it's great to work 3 or 4 days in a row, or 3 or 4 days out of the week, but when you work 14 hours in a day, you need a day to recover. So when people are like, oh, you signed up for this, you chose this work, or you only work 3 days, you have all those other days off, they're not off. They're either sleeping, catching up, sleeping, getting ready if you're night shift, or they're just recovering because it's emotional, psychological, physical, exhausting job. And they don't do it to give everything they have and go home with nothing. Nurses do not do their job for that. That's just what happens sometimes. That's sometimes the job, but they would gladly take mental health care back, right? They would gladly, and that's the recommendation from the American Nurses Association, is like how to support nurses. They're not martyrs. They are doing their job that we need them to do in the community to get through this pandemic and to have health care. But you can't strip, like the community can't strip nurses of everything they have and continue to get away with it, essentially. So I can say this because I'm not affiliated with another association except Motherboard Birth, but this is just me. Always, not medical advice, not affiliated with anyone else. But nurses would rather have full lunch breaks than not. Nurses would rather be respected by their peers and be talked to in respectful ways and included on boards and in meetings and groups that make decisions about patient care rather than not. They would rather have bathroom breaks regularly rather than not. They would rather have safe MFing PPE rather than not. They're not going to work because they chose to work in an unsafe environment. They go to work because they chose to work with sick, vulnerable, needy populations. They go to work because they feel accomplished and privileged to do what they do and do what they love. They don't go to work to risk their lives. They're not a hero. I'd rather be a hero, not because that I'm in an unsafe environment at work made unsafe by my employer. I'd rather be a hero if I lift a car off a child, right? That's a damn hero. They risked everything. They have superhuman strength and they did something unimaginable to save someone's life in the face of danger. That's like a one-time situation. No one put them in that situation. They were like, I'm going to decide to do this. I'm going to look around and look at scene safety and look at this poor child under this car, and I'm going to lift this car up off of them. And then I'm done. And that's going to be amazing. And I don't do it because I want to be a hero, but I saved that person's life, or I did everything I could because I felt like I was in a position that could do that. I don't think nurses every day go to work and they're like, I'm in a position to really get a life-threatening illness today. No. No. Who does that every day, or 3 or 4 days a week, or 6 out of 7 days a week? No one thinks that. You don't have time to be intubated today, or in 5 days, or in 14 days when this shows up. So safe PPE means I know the CDC changed regulations, and I know hospitals are wearing cloth masks over paper masks, but masks did not magically become reusable. So many, many, many facilities have unsafe PPE standards right now, or unsafe levels of PPE. If you're still reusing a disposable mask, that's an unsafe use of PPE. So you're risking the patient and the nurse, in my opinion, because you're using it beyond the standard use of a mask, and you're using it outside of the recommendations by the manufacturer. And the recommendations didn't change. It's just the numbers, the amount of PPE, the fact that we're using it all up changed. So I don't think nurses went into their job and they were like, yeah, I think OSHA standards apply for everyone but me. No, nurses are not martyrs. They're not going in thinking that everyone is more worthwhile than their family, who they could be bringing back bugs like sickness and illness to. But they're put in these situations that are unsafe, or it's become unsafe, or whatever you believe, they are being silenced. So when the medical community calls nurses heroes and then fires them when they speak out about unsafe work conditions, that's like sending your kid to timeout and then praising them for doing such a good timeout. What? You don't do that. That's really messed up. You don't punish someone or give someone a consequence and then say, and pat them on the head and say, good job taking that consequence quietly. No, that's not what you teach. That's not what you teach your kid. That's wrong. That's not what you like even teach your dog or your pets. Like that was just an example I thought of that was like pretty sick. And that's exactly what's happening because I have heard firsthand from many nurses, nurse practitioners, midwives, bedside nurses, that they are being fired or furloughed for either not working in unsafe conditions, which should be a right of an employee, OSHA says. Where are they? And or they're being furloughed, so they are not paid, or they're talking out and they're saying, this isn't safe. Y'all should know, be careful going into this facility because the nurses have been wearing their mask for a week and also they're coming down with COVID-19. So who knows who's positive, who knows who's, wearing a wet mask, and layering masks is also not that's made up. That's not manufacturer recommendations. That's how they're getting by with not enough PPE. And they were like encouraged not to wear masks. And so when nurses felt really uncomfortable about that and not being able to use their own judgment, they were fired. So it doesn't really make sense to be called a hero and then if they speak otherwise, they're fired. So I think it's a power trip. It's a way to keep nurses working and quiet. When you say, oh, you're a hero, how does it feel to then say, yeah, but you're treating me really poorly, or I'm not a hero, I just want to do my job? When nurses do like really emotional, personal, human touch jobs, like they have big hearts, they want to help. How could they abandon all of the sick people in this time and like sleep at night, right? So people are taking advantage of that as well, and then using it to their like personal business advantage, in my opinion. And I think the public doesn't know otherwise, but they're not heroes because they are required to work in unsafe conditions or threatened. That doesn't make someone a hero. That makes someone threatened. That makes someone fearful and makes it difficult for them to do their job without trauma. If they always are in fear that someone's listening to them, or they fear for their life, or they fear for their children, they have to sleep in a different location than their family. Like that is not being a hero. That is being unsafe. And I think the discussion should be on the safety and welfare of the nurses. But also, American Nurses Association agrees. And they just came out with some recommendations. So they even call nurses heroes. The ANA says that nurses and essential workers are exhausted and physically drained, emotionally drained from the months of serving on the front lines of the pandemic, even as resources continue to remain scarce. But these heroes continue to put themselves and their families in further harm. And I think that's because it's a job. It's not like a volunteer situation where they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a hero and like put myself in this situation. No, it's their job. They have to feed their family, and their family's home eating all day long, like my family. And they continue to put themselves in further harm. Congress has yet to provide them with mental health support they need. So the recommendation from ANA is tell your member of Congress to provide hazard pay and mental health services for all nurses and other essential healthcare workers immediately. Like 2 months ago, they should have been getting hazard pay. This is not the typical workplace environment. And it's not because they're taking care of sick people. It's because they're taking care of sick people without caution, without preventative measures, without enough PPE, without enough time, without enough training on new PPE. They're getting different sizes, and different companies and different manufacturers are sending different things, whatever they can get their hands on, but they're not sized right. They're not refitted every single time they use a new brand. So it's still unsafe. And just because you aren't hearing about it, that means that nurses are being told to be quiet more often, not because it's happening less. So I appreciate that they say they deserve hazard pay and mental health support. Send your letter today. And they give a link. So I can put some links down below. You can also talk to your governor's office and send them information and send them how you feel. I think that because nurses didn't ask for unsafe, life-threatening work environments, doesn't make them heroes, it makes them unsafe. They need our support because nurses, are threatened if they speak up, but we're not. We're not threatened. So we can talk all about this. We can be like, is this true? Who's heard of this? And decide on where to get care based on how they treat their staff, how they treat their nurses. What kind of PPE do they have? What kind of mental health support are they utilizing? Have they brought in extra? Because this is extra. It's extra time. It's not just like, oh, when they have time, we let them go do EAP, Employee Assistance Program. This is different. This is traumatic. And you can ask if you have a choice, you can ask how their nurses are being treated and what kind of PPE do they have and how many have gotten sick or fallen ill. I don't think they're going to have those numbers, but we should ask as consumers to help drive the treatment of nurses to be better. You can still give nurses coffee. You should, because we love them and we wouldn't be healthy without them. But I don't think you should call them heroes. I think you should thank them for doing an amazing job and then cook for them or wash their masks. Like, creative ways to support them through trauma is way better than calling them heroes. So buying them coffee and writing a letter to your congressperson or your governor and telling them that you did that is going to be way more powerful for that nurse, because that means you took time and you value their safety and their family's well-being. So that is my rant on nurses are not heroes. They do heroic things and they're amazing with superpowers. And I teach that all the time. So I want to hear from nurses. Please, please. I'm going to share this on the page and I want to hear nurses' stories. The next thing that's coming up that you can do with me, besides another rant, which more are coming, is the May 19th and May 21st childbirth ed class. It's called the Best Damn Online Childbirth Ed class. It's 2 days and 2 instructors. So you can get this saucy nurse plus a saucy midwife who teaches yoga. So we're going to be moving around, doing activities, and it's the same people in 2 nights. So you have homework in the middle, and then you come back and we meet up, and it's very interactive. It's going to be really cool. And you get to be in like a private group. So you guys get to be friends and be parents at the same time and show each other your babies when you have babies and things like that. Super cool. So hit me with your questions. I want to feel the feels. I want to hear what you're feeling through this, how this makes you feel. If you can agree, if you don't, it's fine. Just tell me. I can take it. And I want a little bit of a discussion about how we treat nurses moving forward and how we can change this, because it's pretty bullshit, pretty bad how they're being treated right now. And they're quiet. So they're not going to necessarily tell you they've been told not to. And it's crazy. So and they're also told that it's okay. And it's not. Like, it's okay to layer masks. It's okay not to have a shield because we don't have any. It's okay, whatever. But it's not. It doesn't make it okay. So I think that there's a lot of confusion going on as well. So tell me how you feel. Thanks for joining me. I will talk to you soon, and I will see you on May 19th. And you can join in the link down here to our Best Damn Online Childbirth class. All right. Have a great weekend. Bye.